But it does apparently really appeal to people that like playing fast Twitch-style games. At TwitchCon, I was amazed at the number of people that said they really loved playing Everspace. Yet, this one, when you kill that alien, it turns into a black hole ending. So yeah, Everspace Encounters DLC adds a bunch of stuff, but I'm not sure it's enough to justify going back to the game just for that content. I'm Scott Manley, fly safe.
Hello, it's Scott Manley here, and after a quick internet poll tonight, it was decided that between nuclear weapons and killer asteroids, we wanted to talk about killer asteroids, specifically the TV show Salvation, which ran this year. It had about 12 episodes, and it has been renewed for a second season. And the basic core plot point is that there is a killer asteroid heading towards the Earth. But the writers of the show decided that they needed more drama. So on top of this, you have computer hackers looking for the truth. You have Russian agents running around. You have people getting assassinated. And you have a coup against the US government. And over it all, we end up with the potential of nuclear war right at the end. And yeah, this makes for quite an entertaining, if not very accurate show. I'm going to say that, I obviously studied, astronomy, I worked in asteroids, but I also have a career in computer science, and I worked in computer security, and so I'm double face palming whenever I see mistakes, because on one hand you've got a mistake in the computer side of things, and then you've got a mistake on the asteroid side of things. Now, to be fair, the producers, they did consult with Phil Plait, the bad astronomer, who I am a big fan of. He does awesome stuff, so while I may be making jokes, calling up flaws in this, I totally understand that, the producers may not show everything to everyone involved. And I actually have a similar experience. You see, I have a friend back at ArmA who worked on a book about a killer asteroid that was used by a weapon, and there were Russian agents running around and computer hacking, and it seems really kind of familiar. But yeah, Bill Napier, astronomer, really knew his killer asteroids, and he wrote Nemesis. Now, I was there, I was the local computer nerd that knew all about computer security, and so I actually gave him a lot of advice. I helped him out, I gave him a bunch of language. We actually, went over certain sections of the book to make sure that they made sense. And then, of course, through the editing process, somehow all of this wonderful work got lost, and when I look at this, I'm just like, oh, who wrote this stuff? So, this happens. It's not uncommon, and it's not confined to TV or movies or anything. So yeah, Salvation. Yeah, let's get started. How do we find out there's an asteroid out there? Well, on one side you have the US government with their network of telescopes, and they find this object out there. A 7-kilometer chunk of rock which is heading towards the Earth. It's near Jupiter, but it will hit Earth in 180 days. Now, I'm going to say they did get some stuff right here. 7-kilometer asteroid is just about the right size to be an incredibly, life-ending threat, right? This is something that would be big enough to wipe out civilization on Earth, leave very few survivors. It's not like Armageddon where they got something the size of Texas, Mr. President. Or, right? They got that right. That's not ridiculous. I'm going to say the orbit simply doesn't work, right? It has to get from Jupiter to Earth in 6 months. Well, we've just had Comet 2017 U1, right? Interstellar, going faster than any other object in the solar system. And if you look at its orbit, in January, it passed the orbit of Jupiter. And then in August, it would pass the orbit of Earth on the way in. So even that, going faster than anything else, took 8 months. So this is not a periodic object, it's clearly an interstellar origins. That doesn't really make sense, but I think this is just TV shows saying we can't deal with deadlines of 10 years, right? Which is much more realistic. We've got to have a fast, ever-present threat to make things happen quickly. Now, in all fairness, there are several scenes where we see the asteroid on a viable orbit that would make sense given the 180-day deadline. But in other scenes, we see the asteroid literally sitting next to Jupiter, and I think this is the CGI team getting some miscommunications, because in some places we actually see the asteroid is a long way from Jupiter, and every time we actually see the asteroid rendered, it's right next to Jupiter. And that doesn't actually work. That one, so I think this is the CGI team taking something and running with it and running off into fantasy science land. Now, one of the characters is an MIT whiz kid, and he's running a computer simulation of the solar system, and he sees there's a flaw in it. There's some gravitational influence that is not being accounted for, and he managed to deduce from this information that there is a 7-kilometer object heading for the planet Earth. Now, okay, so in real life, yes, astronomers were able to find discrepancies in orbits of Saturn to help locate Uranus, and then discrepancies in that orbit were used to find Neptune. But it wasn't hugely accurate. It kind of gave them the rough area to look at, but they still had to search. To predict that there is a 7-kilometer object, which,